Hello, welcome to what will be episode 2 of the Raina Rouse Show. So, it's been a while. Not gonna try to focus on that too much. Got a couple of updates and little things I'm gonna talk to. First off, so I originally recorded the second episode, and I had some editing issues. Let's just say that it did not go well, so I'm basically re-recording this episode. We'll see how this goes. It's going to be interesting to repeat a lot of what I said. I think it would be a good idea to just go back over what I did, as well as adding in some new stuff. But seriously though, I did a whole like hour episode. I made a word bank, and I even drew. We have this whole new area up here that's going on with a little mountaintop. Got little friends. We're using the same pens as last time. We got some cool little friends up here. Nice little squish. Cool little mountaintop with a face and nose and whatever this mechanical device is, and a little dude on top of the mountain. Yeah, I'll be really upfront. The second episode was supposed to be about mental health, and kind of just going over my own experiences with mental health and kind of just what I struggle with. It was a good episode, just the editing didn't go well. If you've been watching the first episode, it's cut up into parts, and it's because I did it on my phone, and I didn't know that in time it would actually cut it up into different bites. I didn't know that about it. Video editing. This is like super new to video uploading, so it was a bit of a something new to learn. So I'm using a camera now, and it does the same thing, and so it cut the video up even worse than my phone did. But I think I found a way to hopefully make it work. We'll see if it does. Fingers crossed. If I have to record another video on mental health, I'll probably just move on, but we'll see. So we're gonna start working on this piece again, just jumping right back into it somewhere. Hopefully get some entertainment from the fact that this is already done, and there's some nice bits in there. I think I did a good job. I haven't been drawing with pen a lot lately. I've been doing a lot more digital artwork, at least within like the last week or so. Excuse me. Super windy and cold here, but I will be fine. Anyway, so big updates. First off, it's a new year. Second episode, I believe it's January 11th, is it right now? That's the day I'm recording this on. 2021. Thinking of starting over here. Anyway, so a big little update. It's very interesting to move forward with this first point. We're gonna use a different pen to start with. I'm gonna use the one pointer, or is it 10? I don't know. Anyway, so the first episode, I decided it would be a great idea. Why not do an introduction? I'm doing the introduction toward the end of 2020. Why not talk about my experiences with 2020 and just kind of go over what I'm going through right now, in my own life. And it's interesting because I wanted to center it on 2020, this whole pandemic, how, so many of us have been kind of pushed into our homes, and there's so much with that. And for me, I talked about, still having to work, and although I'm very blessed by that, there's still some difficulty, but, it is what it is. We move with it. And so, just to be straight up, I caught COVID over the Christmas vacation. So, I felt it on, let's say, putting it into a week's perspective. Christmas this last year was on a Thursday. Or at least Christmas Eve was, and then Christmas Day was on a Friday, and I Not to say where I got it from. I know exactly where I got it from. Pretty sure it was being out at, let's just say, work. Let's just be upfront with that. But anyway, I started to feel it specifically Christmas night. I felt like chills and body aches, and all hopes that it would be like a head cold. But what was believed to be a head cold was quickly turning into body aches and, like I said, chills. And I've never really experienced that with the cold before. I had a sore throat, and I've experienced that before. I get a lot of sore throats. It's actually, and I'll talk about this maybe in an upcoming episode more in depth, but I got a lot of like throat issues, at least with talking. I think I might have like a polyp or something, to be honest. It actually really keeps me from like voice training, which is one of those things that I can get into, and I'm planning on doing like a transition episode and really talking more about that. But I get a lot of really bad sore throats, so it's something I'm used to. But this was just something different. It felt like, So anyway, I took precautions. Being upfront, my family's fine. They're good. I live with a couple of people, as I've expressed in the first episode, and I should stop like responding as the first episode. If you've seen it, you've seen it. My girlfriend did get sick. I gave it to her, I believe. She had it a little worse than I did, but luckily, and thank God, our family did not get it. No one has tested positive. If it was that Saturday that I really started to feel it, the day after Christmas, that was when I had the most body aches. I got tested on the Monday, that Monday of that following week. First thing in the morning, took about 2 hours, and this isn't my first time getting tested. In kind of the setting that I work in, there's been multiple cases, so I've done my best that whenever I find out someone has tested positive that I work near, I immediately go get tested. And usually it's pretty quick. It's been pretty fast of an experience, but this was the first time it really took about, since there's a surge going on, it took about 2 to 3 hours to really get in there and get the test. Funny story when that happened. And you gotta use some humor with this. It was a really anxiety producing situation for the entire house, for my entire family. It was rough, When I did get tested, I got the I've done the spit test before. You spit in a little vial, and it's simple, it's easy. My goodness, I am spitting all over today. Probably whatever I still have. I don't have any more symptoms, but I still have like a cough and a bit of congestion. It's not intense, but as you can hear, I'm coughing, and I'm still kind of struggling with a bit of it. But I've cleared my medical office's recommendations. They recommended about 10 days of being away and isolation and just taking care. So I cleared that, and now I'm just getting back to it, back to work, back to everything that I need to, back to drawing. My last 2 days of isolation, I really got back into digital drawing. I've got a lot planned moving ahead into this new year, especially with dedicating myself to making these episodes and also putting out some artwork. And so anyway, I've done the spit test before. Easy, simple. But then I've never done the cotton swab test with the where it goes up into your nose, into your mouth. And my goodness, my girlfriend had told me, because she had done it before, that the nose wasn't too big of an issue. It was the mouth that really was an issue for her, at least. Now we realize that it really just depends who gives you the test. When I did it, it was a woman. She came over. She had me lift up my mask. She put it in my mouth. All good. The mouth wasn't too bad. It was a little weird, but it wasn't too bad. the nose part was the first. She basically shoved it up my nose, and like the second she did it, I gasped. I was like, oh fuck. It was really bad. And like after I did it, I like told her, I was like, I'm so sorry. Like she had her own protective gear. She was like, it's fine. You can tell she was just not having it. But I was just like, oh my goodness. And then my girlfriend takes her test, and the lady that comes up is just a sweetheart. Like straight up, just, you know, oh, you did a good job. We're just gonna do like this. It's not supposed to hurt. And I'm over here like, ow. But anyway, yeah, it was an experience. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, I mean, we've talked about a lot, is that it was just a matter of time we were gonna catch it. We're working in an environment. It's just one of those things. It's been a whole year. The surges in cases right now are really getting up there, so the fact that we hadn't caught it was a blessing, but it was a matter of time really that we were going to catch it. So thankfully we're okay. We're both doing better. Moving forward, I'm looking forward to this new year. I'm not expecting it to be, you know, perfect. I'm not expecting everything to get better. I'm just expecting to move ahead, continue with whatever I've been doing to adapt to this this current national situation that we find ourselves in. Because I really do believe that, you know, we're all kind of dealing with this in our own way, and it really is going to be the years that make, you know, it really builds some character and defines kind of our time. Starts to define our time. I mean, not starts. The history's always been going. Anyway, so that's my COVID update. Me getting better, catching it, all that stuff. I did those in different orders. A boop-a-doop-doop. Anyway, so let's talk about episode 2 and the fact that I originally had planned to talk about mental health. Like I said, it's a good thing that I've had like a whole bunch of time, so maybe I have different thoughts on this. Bit of that congestion's getting to me. Anyway, I've had a bit of time, so maybe I can add anything new. My only worry is that I won't come out as eloquent as I had come last time. Maybe it wasn't eloquent. I don't even realize that it was actually a mess. But anyway, disclaimer before I really get into mental health. I'm not an expert. I'm going to do my best to try to talk from I statements. I only talk for me. I don't talk for anyone else. I only know my own experiences, at least as far as I know them. And it would be unfair. I'm not right to talk about anyone else and their experiences. I know in the recording that I made, I was making a point to doing that, and then I got all, not philosophical, but I got into some thoughts about mental health and issues of where that comes from, and I think I started to use a lot of we statements, so I kind of messed up there. So hopefully I can just keep this personal. I don't think it's need to go into any big talk about wherever the fuck anxieties come from, and worries and anxiousness and where that comes from. I think there are plenty of videos online, plenty of thinkers you can go to that have good points of view. Yeah. So I think where I really wanted to talk about this is because it's been kind of like, it was kind of my big thing that I was working through and still working through during the last year, and you know, moving forward through my life, is a bit of my mental health. And you know, I decided to go to therapy for I've been to therapy in the past, but this is really the first time I really wanted to sit with it, not just trying to get myself on hormones, but actually move into a process of you know, situating what I learned more than anything in these type of sessions was more about just setting a routine, something that assists me and setting up my day and being there for myself, which is good. It's important. I still feel like there's stuff that I have to work on, obviously. And I think, too, being okay with the fact that routines change. But I did go to therapy. I took some, or at least this last year, and I took some pointers that really helped, continue to help. By the way, if we're not drawing for a while, I like how this is coming out. I don't really know what it is, but that's what's fun, right? Almost looks like a bug. Almost looks like a bug with tentacles coming out. They almost look like computer tentacles or something, like Ethernet cables or something like that. I'm not sure. Anyway, I look forward to the day I don't say as much on these things. Anyway, in therapy, I learned one of the big things is just how everyone does have, or at least, again, I say that, everyone. I have my own sense of anxiety, my own edge, and it deals with a bit of what I refer to as my irritability. So when I get anxious, instead of outwardly worrying, what I do is I break into a sense of wanting to control the situation, a sense of wanting to make myself feel more comfortable, because particularly change has set in. I'm not very comfortable with change, especially change that I have not commenced. Would that be the word? I haven't made for my own self. It's just change that has happened because of the situation. And my way of going about it, in addition to this control, is that I get frustrated. And in the past, and what still is, and less so, which is good, but there's a bit of lashing out. There's a bit of having a short fuse, a bit of a less of a patience, and at times being a bit of an asshole, if you will. And so, yeah, I felt it might be really important, actually, to kind of talk about this in the very beginning, because I think for a lot of us, I think especially during this time, you hear more talks about mental health, and I think a lot of people are looking for answers. And I think also the biggest thing is a lot of us, again, I'm not talking in I statements. I know that I am always looking for seeing my story in other people's experiences. Now, I know this is not necessarily not always a healthy thing. This can also be an issue. Sometimes when you're looking for that validation from other places, you'll find that it actually bites you in the butt, because it's a constant, I feel like it's a constant issue. It's a constant matter of trying to validate oneself, and it becomes a bit of a pain. Now, yeah, and I say all this to express why I think it's important to talk about this. And I think for a lot of us who have, I know for me, I never saw, and especially a few years ago, I never saw anxiety as being something that was also irritability. I didn't get that it was coming from a place of fear. And that sounds very cliche, but if we're talking about where that comes from, it's very much the truth. I think back to that Donnie Darko movie, where and I say that in that part where there's that film and the guy who Patrick Swayze plays about life is love and fear, something like that. Maybe it was another word, but I'm pretty sure it was love and fear. And there's kind of some truth there. There's obviously, as Donnie expresses, there's some gray areas. There's some stuff that's not there, maybe the fear itself actually might be coming from a place of love. Maybe you're feeling so much love that you're actually pretty terrified. I mean, I know for me that that's the case. When I start to feel a lot of love and feelings, there's a lot of sense of wanting to get the fuck away from that. And for me, I feel I'm a work in progress, and that's what grounds me, and where I realize that I'm not alone, too, in the matter, and I think it would be important to talk about these things. So, what do I do to take care of myself? And like I said, I think what I learned in therapy is, this year in particular, is that a lot of it can really be assisted by routine. So I have found a good routine in waking up every morning, and one of the things that works for me that I like is I like meditation. Meditation really works for me. It's not a magic bullet. It doesn't fix all of my problems. Some days I may meditate and I will still be a little shit, but again, work in progress. I am a work in progress. We all are a work in progress. And for me, meditation helps with that. I started off and I started doing about 5-minute sessions, built that up to 10, and been adding 5 minutes every since. Now I'm in between. I will take, depending on the day, depending on what my schedule is, I will do anywhere between 15 to 30 minutes of meditating, just kind of sitting with myself and kind of processing and a better word to use is practicing. I'm practicing a sense of stillness. I try to focus on 3 areas of meditating. I focus on stillness, which means I try not to move my body. I try to keep myself from reacting. If there's an itch on my nose, I gotta deal with it. If I itch it, well, guess what? I'm gonna have to chalk that up to having to need to work on it a little more. But it's okay. It happens. I also work on breath. I try to focus in on keeping my breath consistent, but also keeping my focus to breath. Breathing in, holding on to that breath for a few moments, and then breathing out. And then, on top of that, or at least my third one, is I try to focus on my focus. This is probably the hardest part, the most difficult part, to pull back myself and to actually try not to entertain thoughts, allowing them to come, but trying to not let them take over, or at least not take over. The better word would be like just entertaining them, like holding on to them longer than I need to. I kind of let it pass as I let sound pass. And I've found that this helps. And there are a lot of moments that I will get into anxious situations, and I will find that although I still feel the same type of irritability, I'm at a better place of being able to navigate it. So that helps. So meditation helps. What also helps? Although I need to do it more, and I also don't do it as much because I get a lot of it from work. One of the things that I really like is exercising. I do a lot of exercising, or I try to, at least when I'm at home. When I'm at work, I have no choice about it. To keep it simple, if I were to say that work would be my exercise, I work out for like 4 to 5 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Like it's one of those things I cannot decide if I'm going to recover or not. It's just, there's no choice about the matter. And I am lifting anywhere from maybe 5 to at times 65 pounds of weights. So when I get home, I definitely don't want to try to overdo myself. I've tried like running in the morning. I think going for walks would be better, but it's so easy for me to push it off and say to myself that I'm going to do other things. But exercising helps. I'm planning on doing a couple of other things sometime this year. I really want to save up for a punching bag. Last episode I mentioned Joey Diaz. He's got a saying, he's like, you gotta get the yayas out. So someday I'm gonna get a punching bag and I will work on getting the yayas out, because I've got a bunch of yayas that I need to let go of. So yeah, working out is one of the things. Another thing is what I'm doing right now, drawing. I think what's become difficult is that drawing is also kind of work for me now. There's still a sense of play to it, but I think that it's kind of tough at times to also... I think this actually, doodling like I am, actually assists me with kind of coming up with ideas, but also kind of relaxing, you know, like not having to worry about what this is, where it's going to. It's just, there's a calming to it. I think it's also just letting it out. I think, or I'd like to hope that this show will become another place where I can practice and work on letting out thoughts and emotions. When I was young, I used to get told a lot that I talk too much, not just, you know, from school, but also, you know, from the people in my life. And I think it's kept me from, in a way, slowly, it's kept me from really being really excited about what I love. And when I talk about it and talk about stuff that I love, it's very rare. So being able to do that here, I hope is an outlet, is a place for me to build my build whatever this is going to be. I think it's one of those things that's difficult. I feel so many people nowadays have their own podcasts and their own things. A lot of people do, you know, there's some people that don't. But there's that feeling, you know, of like, am I doing something that's unique? Obviously it's unique in the sense that I'm doing it. There's that fear I feel about not doing it. I'm aware is that feeling that I'll never get to it. And so, you know, there's back to that validation thing. There's a sense of struggling for, you know, validating the efforts and work that's put into whatever it might be. But best to move on, best to try, right? I definitely I'm liking how this is coming out rather than my the original plan for our original recording of the second episode. I got more into like not philosophical. I keep saying philosophical, but like I was talking more about like psychology and kind of, you know, anxiety coming from a place of fear, talking about when we're cavemen and shit. But I like how this is a little more personal. Yeah. Another interesting thing, let's talk about my past with any other anxieties. And I think it's important to go back a few years. I'm about to turn 26. When I was, let's say 20, I started to get anxiety, and I had never really dealt with that before. You know, anxiety was something other people had, I didn't, and around that time, that became very far from the truth. I became very, I think, and I learned this from therapy, I think I got to a place where I became just more conscious of things. I think for all the better, really, because I'm at a place where there's this saying that, you know, the first step to really correcting your wrongs or getting healthy or whatever, you know, I don't know the best way to describe this, but, you know, to a sense of being conscious of your actions is to be aware of it, you know, and then the next step is to slowly work on changing it. And I definitely feel like I'm on that road to changing it. There's another good idea I keep in my mind from time to time I've heard on this is we grow up with unconsciousness, is that the word? It's like when we're like kids, we're not aware, well, we're aware, but we're not like aware, is that the word? And then as we're teenagers, we're unconsciously conscious, like we're very aware of what we're doing, but there's also like some bit of unconsciousness to that. And then in adolescence, hopefully we, again, I'm using we statements, but I'm just talking about an idea. We get to a place where it's unconscious, conscious. So the first one was unconscious consciousness, unconscious unconsciousness. And then there's unconscious consciousness when you're like a teenager. And then as an adult, you get to being, or at least adolescent state, you could probably get to this as a teen too, if you've had the experiences, or maybe even younger. You get to unconscious unconsciousness, unconscious consciousness, and then there's consciousness unconsciousness. And that's a place where we more than likely, or where we stay for a very long time. Maybe never get out of it for some people. It's not a bad thing to never get out of it. It's just one of those, it's just an interesting way to explain it, kind of what we go through as people. And so when I got to my 20s, it's a good way to understand it for me. It's kind of like I got to a place where now I just became more conscious. I don't even think it's a matter of being, you know, I think especially if we're talking in spiritual, about spiritual things, you hear people talking about enlightenment, but I don't think that there's just one place where enlightenment stops. It's just, you become more and more unconscious. You know, after you're done getting past the hill that you're on, there's always another hill that's right behind, and that you are needing to continue to climb. And I definitely feel like I am doing my best to follow a trail and notice when I'm on a hill, when I'm on a peak, when I'm on a mesa, and to recognize what might be best for me and my health, my happiness, you know what, that's another thing. And maybe that would be the first word for the word bank. Maybe the only one. Last time I did this, there was a couple that I added on to, but I don't think they were as helpful as this one that I can add. So I think when I hear the most of peeps talk about happiness and mental health, I don't like to focus on happiness. For me, the main thing that I focus on in life and trying to find is meaningfulness. And apologies as I pull out my phone because I'd like to spell his name right. He doesn't spell it normally. But yeah, meaningfulness is the main thing I look for. Here we go. I knew he spells it with a K. So, someone really important. I've read his book. It's an intense read, but he's a great, I believe he's a psychologist, is he? He's a Austrian neurologist, psychiatrist, and philosopher, author, and also, and this is what's most important, he's a Holocaust survivor. And if you've heard of this name, or you know of him, you'll know where I'm going with the meaningfulness. His name is Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl is awesome. He has he's lived a very experienced life as a Holocaust survivor, and as someone who is a psychologist, or sorry, not psychologist, he's trained as a psychiatrist, not psychologist, psychiatrist. But he went through the Holocaust, went through the gist, or the main bit of it. I don't want to give any details. I think that if you're interested in this, you should read his book. I believe it's Man's Search for Meaning. Is that what it's called? Yes, Man's Search for Meaning. It is a very easy read. It is not long. It is a very powerful read. To sum it up, he talks about his experiences going through a concentration camp, and he talks about how, of all the people that he witnessed struggling throughout this terrible time, that what got most people through, the people that survive, at least from what he says and what he points out, is that they've tried to find a place of meaningfulness in it all. And that's the strange thing, is that he talks about, they're going through one of the worst things that has happened in our history. We've had bad stuff, and for the 20th century, this was by far the worst. And he talks about how even in this terrible time, people losing their family, losing their way of life, losing everything, that many people still found meaning. They still found something to fight to live for. And he makes this case that humanity doesn't look for, or people don't look for happiness, but what we look for is meaning. And meaning, in simple terms, is to put a sense of significance onto things in your life. For me as an artist, one of those things, for example, is, and you'll see a lot of my doodling, is I love drawing eyes. Eyes have a strong significance for me. There are a lot of things that hopefully I can share that have a lot of significance for me. Symbols really are big for me. There are a lot of symbols that draw me toward them. And so Viktor Frankl talked about the fact that we all search for meaning, or that's what's most important. That can save us, that can push us to find a way of getting through whatever hardship it is. And I think that's important. I think that's very important, and for me it is important. I look for that in my day-to-day. Yeah, it's one of those things too. I like saying to people, have a meaningful day, have a meaningful weekend. I hope I hope your weekend is meaningful. Because to me, that's what matters. So yeah, I think Viktor Frankl should be the only person on this word bank. How long have we been doing this? Only 38 minutes? Wow, that was a fast 38 minutes. I didn't think it was that long. And we still got battery on the camera, so I think I can keep going. I think I've covered most of what I wanted about mental health. If anything comes to me, I will share. One of the things that I did in the original recording was share a little bit of what I've been listening to. A lot of my inspiration and a lot of what I'd like to be working on is related to music. And so I think it would be very important to talk about music. So I'm gonna just go over what I was listening to at the time. I think I'm still listening to these artists on and off. Not as consistently with having COVID and going through that process, but still worth mentioning, worth sharing. excuse me while I turn this. Sometimes I like to turn the piece to get a better curve. Let's see. I find I get better curves if I work with this orientation of my hand. Get it a little defined a little more, which is good. So, what have I been listening to? I realized, though, that I'm going to have to add to the word bank, so sorry, Viktor Frankl. Viktor Frankl is still important. Doesn't change the fact. Looking for a better pen. So, first on the list, first band I get to talk about that I love, and their new album that just came out about a few months ago, maybe back in November. And the album is called Seer. I pray it's called Seer. I was pronouncing it Sire for like most of the year. And it's by the Smashing Pumpkins. I am a Pumpkins fan. Now, Seer, like Sears. We're gonna go pick up some clothes from Sears. It's a real good album. I'm loving it. It's I'm finding that a lot of the themes in the album relate to love, and either it be love for self, love for its complexities, love and how it changes. But whatever matters of love, I'm loving the album. It's good. It's real good. This curve could have been better. I'm going to do that, because why not? Why not? This one too could be better, but we're not going to X out. It's okay. You can fall into the fact that everything is looking alright. Yeah, there's a lot of really good songs on there. There's a lot of, so what's interesting about this album, I've heard, Corgan talk about, as the lead singer, he talks about how they didn't want to have this album very guitar heavy, and they use more so synthesizers and piano, and it shows, and it works. It's really good. There's a lot of moments in the album that stand out. There's a lot of moments that are it's a banger. It's a good one. But yeah, I'm enjoying it. It's really good. I definitely need more time with it. I haven't yet to really sit with it and look at the lyrics in the booklet. As of now, it's just kind of what's the word? Listening to it in the car and just kind of taking it in, enjoying the beats. I think one of my notably favorite song on the album right now is a song called Starcraft. Let's see, I'm probably gonna spell it wrong. It's called Starcraft. There's a lot of songs on this album that are very fun. They're just very happy, and it's nice to have, especially with everything going on. You know, I can't always listen to heavy, not sad music, but, you know, just aggressive music. And I listen to a lot. I listen to aggressive music, and so it's nice to break from that and just go into something that is not that. This almost looks like a sperm. It's a sperm for you. See, maybe there's a cup. Why is it going in the cup? At this point, I don't know what I'm drawing. I was working it over here, and it looks great. What do we even have over here? It's like a machine thing. We got some coins or rocks, and then we got some like tentacle beast, one tentacle beast. It's tentacle beast. Is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Six tentacles. He's about love. Numerology is 6 for love. So I guess it's about love. Or it's a big monster thing. That works too. Anyway, so yeah, StarCraft and Seer and Smashing Pumpkins. It's a good album. I'm enjoying it. Maybe this is attached to like some like other machinery thing. Let's do that. Maybe it's a spaceship. Let's do a spaceship. So, another album. I think I have a lot more to say on this one than I do Seer, because Seer I still need to look into the lyrics, and this one, Corgan, oh my goodness, I dropped my pen bag. Billy Corgan, lead singer of Smashing Pumpkins, is always difficult to hear what he is saying. My goodness, still all the reason to love him. But my goodness, the man he's got a great voice. I love it. Not dissing it, just very difficult to know what he's saying at times. Another album that I am really enjoying. This isn't a new album. This is a not old. It's a couple years old, but it's nevertheless it's just really good. It's Conditions of My Parole by the band Pussifer. Oh my goodness, am I gonna spell Pussifer right? I hope that's correct. And I could literally like list like most of the songs on this album, and I will. It is such a good album. My goodness, I think every time I'm listening to it, even if it's just this, because I've listened to it so much, even if it's just one or two of the songs off the album, you know, while I'm driving and I only get to them, I still am connecting it with the rest of the album. And for me, I'll be talking about this soon. I'm going to make a very special episode near and dear to my heart soon. Hopefully this week. Hope I can get to it. Well, let's keep doing the shape right here. I was going to start doing the details, but I think the shape is more important right now. One of the critiques that I have on music, I'm big on intention. What is the intention of this album? I've recorded music, very amateurly recorded music. I don't know shit about recording, so I did what I could. Maybe someday I'll share that. You could probably do your best to find it. It's really not that difficult. I'm still proud of some of it. I say some of it because I hold it upon myself that I haven't got to keep going. But talking about Conditions of My Parole, let's save that for another time. Conditions of My Parole, one of my criteria on music is how the album kind of comes together. You know, I think if you're making one really cool song, then it works to just have like an EP or a single. I know that LPs are kind of dying nowadays. Not a lot of people listen to the whole LP. I know Corgan said that a couple of years ago. I don't know if that's still true. I think there are a lot more people now listening to full albums, but anyway, I really like to see when an album is like a book, that there's overarching themes that carries through the album. It doesn't have to tell a story, but you know, extra points if it does, and it's coherent if you can actually piece it together. But I really like when albums have a way of tying itself together with each of its songs in terms of placement, in terms of where things are going. I've got other criteria, but Conditions of My Parole just, without even, it just does it. It does it so well. The whole album is about, at least for me, subjectively, what I feel in it. The album is about life. The album's about, like, I don't even want to say love. The album's about life and this journey we go on. It's about the dangers that we have ahead of us. It's about the feelings and the emotions that go along with surrendering to vulnerability, to life, to everything that is in front of us, as well as the absurdity of it all and strangeness of the facts and the situations. It's I'm loving it. I'm loving the shit out of this album. It actually, with a few years, can really grow on me to being probably one of my favorite albums. It probably already is. Let's put a little sigil here. There's a spaceship, and they have a federation of sorts. Cool. Doesn't have to be crazy. Maybe it's like a predator race. I guess I love the Alien and Predator movies. Actually thinking about drawing an alien. I need to... That'll be maybe for a project in the future. Because I need to detail it out. Grab the wrong number 10 pen. Anyway. So, conditions of my parole. What makes it so good? It's a banger. I'm just gonna keep using that word. It's a banger. My sister said it, and I was like, this is a perfect description. It's a banger. Oh my goodness, there's some songs on here that are dope as hell. The self-title. Let's just put some songs on here. Make sure my camera's in the right area. Self-title. The self-title is so very, very good. Maybe I'll put that right there. The self-title is very good. It's almost like country, but it rolls into like being like a rock song with a bit of dope ass vibes, and just so first off, about this band, and something that's very what's the word, big on me. I'm a big Maynard James Keenan fan. It's just however he decides to write his lyrics and tell his stories, and that's the big thing. He tells stories that it's just, I'm a sucker for that stuff, and his vocals are just, my goodness, he is, I wouldn't probably say my favorite singer, but he is one of my favorites. One of my favorite singers. I really love his work. I appreciate his work. And I admire the man. He's got some interesting work ethic. Dude just put up like 3 albums in the last like 3 years. It's crazy. But awesome and appreciative. I appreciate your work, sir. But yeah, he's I love his 3 bands, and with this one, I am barely getting into Pussifer, and so far, I'm enjoying their doing. Their first album was good. I liked it. The middle gets lost for me, but it's still a good album. I bought the CD, and it's definitely enjoyable. There's some great songs on there that I'm always down to put on in the car. But Conditions of My Parole is just on another level. It's just so good. But like Conditions of My Parole, this song in particular is like the self-title. It's so fun. My goodness, it's such a fun track. The Weaver. This is like close to like the last song on the album. It's got a solid vibe of... There's some very interesting songs on this album. The Weaver, including... Is it Monsoons? I'm spelling this wrong. This is wrong. And, it starts with an H. Horizons. Horizons, like these songs have such an interesting vibe to them. Horizons feels like you're entering like a saloon or some shit, like some fancy ass saloon. You're gonna get a drink. Monsoons feels like it's weird, and then it gets very like uplifting, and it's great. It's such a great song. Weaver, focusing in on Weaver here, I just dig it. Captures this intentful living. It almost cusps, or I don't know if that's the word. It cusps on the idea of being like a song almost about like magic. If I go there, I listen to a lot of Duncan Trussell, so I'm familiar with some of the peeps he has on, like Connor Habib and Jason Louv. So it feels almost like there's a bit of that, and I know that Maynard has some connections. I don't know how far he goes, but I'm pretty sure it would be big to know that he goes further into the spiritual. I've read his book. I know he likes crystals. He's got this great quote about crystals being like, look, I don't know if this rock is in my pocket's gonna do anything for my financial wealth or for my I think the big one was creativity back in the day, especially when he was using them. Like, I don't know if this crystal is gonna be anything for my creativity, or if it's gonna be some piece of shit that's something someone bought off me. But he said it looks cool, and something about walking around with a magical rock just feels like, you know, there's something mentally that it does to you, that you're almost living in a fantasy. And you know, there's something to that draws me to. It's one of those opinions that draw me to his music. Not just that opinion, but you can see that kind of attitude in many of his work. But focusing in on this album, I'll have all my time to gush over the other projects he has. This album is just great. It's just, I'm enjoying the shit out of it. It's just so good. It's so good. It hits all the right points for me. It really has a lot going for it. Let's see what we're doing here. This is the rocket ship, by the way. So far, not really a rocket ship, but that's okay. We can pretend. But yeah, it's I realize it's gonna be no, because like these are like new albums, because I'm like getting conscious about the fact that I'm not saying too much. But if you really were to get me into the albums that I know and love, I could probably have a lot more to say on them. I hope. Shit, I'm only making shit. None of this is planned either way to do, so I shouldn't get too. Anyway, yes. So good album. That's gonna be the whole video. Me just saying how fucking good of an album this is, and it's just gonna be me. It's a good album. It's a good album. Back to it, it's a good album. Yeah, that's about it. At this moment, I'm starting to pray that this comes together and this is not a recording to waste. Fun lines. Oh yeah, let's do the details. So that's mainly what I'm listening to. There's one other album on that list that I've started listening to. I haven't finished it. Maybe on like the last song, which I'm trying to find like a moment that I could really sit down and listen to it all again. I won't write it down. I'm sure I'll have some other time to talk about it, because I'm gonna be getting into it very soon, I'm sure. Is an album called well, it's self-titled, and it's the second of their self-titles. They're doing something interesting with that. I like it. It's cool. It's kind of like Led Zeppelin. But no, this band is called Lucid Planet. very heavy progressive rock music, trance music. I don't know what you would call this, but they're doing some fucking cool shit on that. I'm loving it. I'm really loving that album. I haven't like really finished it, so I've yet to really go in and, you know, see what's in there in terms of lyrics, in terms of story. But from what I've got and the feelings that I get when I listen to it's pretty awesome. By the way, too, since I'm mentioning I mentioned Pussifer, I have not listened to the new album. They have a new album called Existential Reckoning. I've just started on listening to their stuff, so I'm a fairly new fan, if you will. I'll be getting there soon, but I've heard the first album. Their first album is called V for Vagina. It's pretty good. It's pretty catchy. There's some interesting songs on there. This thing's got a face. It's not supposed to be a face, but if you look at it from a distance, it looks like a face. Maybe these are like weird alien things that don't even have their faces like that. Maybe they got like 3 eyes. This little alien guy. His eyes all the way over here for perspective. There we go. So that's how serious I take my artwork. I can give 2 shits, and I'm gonna put a stick figure guy. I do care. I just like the absurdity of it all. I really love. I probably should write his name. I just don't know how to spell it. One of my favorite artists is Michel Basquiat. Michel Basquiat. Oh my goodness, I do not know how to spell. Oh, there it is. Jean-Michel Basquiat. His stuff is pretty cool. I like this idea of just, you know, kind of just going for it. And I don't know if that's actually. I've read some of his stuff. I've seen his the documentary on him. But I came across his work at the library in college. I actually didn't know who he was when I first picked up his oh my goodness, I cannot spell this. I am so terrible. Basquiat. I just kind of grabbed an art book and I really dug it. And I decided, you know what, I'm just gonna look into his work. And he draws with a lot of like unconventional, you know, just whatever. No, I'm not an expert on Basquiat. All I know is that I like his stuff. And in college, when I first started to really draw again, it's very much what influenced me to say, I can do this. And I can explore ideas that I find interesting. And I find stuff like this interesting, where you've got some layers of detail or whatnot, and then you just draw, dude. It's entertaining for me. Now, I think this is a place where I can call it good session. Like I said, I hope this all comes together and it works. These kind of 3 doodles, I'm really digging them. One more time to show you the doodle from the failed attempt to record. I am going to I didn't want to start up here because what I want to do is I want to kind of build a kind of open landscape, kind of, not landscape, like a background, but leave all this area right here empty, so that the gist or the main bit of this kind of is its own little like island over here, and over here is mainly just a background, and I just want to do lines up there. So that'll be a fun episode. Maybe I can focus in on more on whatever I want to talk about there, and then all this will just be doodles. And what will become of this piece will probably just be a fun way to introduce myself and really show some of what I enjoy the most of drawing. Down the line, I'd really like to do some of my recordings of digital. I don't think digital is entertaining though. It's very grinding unless it's well, we'll see. I'm planning on the next few episodes. Next one might be a little less personal. I think it'll be I mean, it'll get a little personal, but it'll be mainly fun stuff that I like. I think it'd be nice to introduce some of the music that I like. And then the episode after that, I think I'm planning on doing something personal and going into that. Okay, that's about it. Yeah, it was a good session today. I really like how this all came out. I'm happy that I was able to finally. This has been sitting on me for a while now. It's luckily I haven't like held it against myself. Like shit, I haven't made a second episode. What am I really doing? But it's been more of like I recorded it, and it's been kind of like I didn't have any means of what or how to do with it. If that's a sentence. It's been more so that I've said all the things that I needed to say, and knowing that I'm gonna have to say it again, so it's just like, let's just get this over and done with. But it's been good. I like that this kind of took its own different turn, and we'll see where that goes in the next episode, and see how quick that comes out. I'm planning for sometime this week. We shall see. So goodbye. Hope you enjoyed this. I hope you enjoy my drawings and my lollygagging and just talking about stuff that I find important. Yeah. Thank you and goodbye. Goodbye. How do I stop this thing? This is my first time using a new camera. Let's go. Stop it. Nope, that didn't work.